Hey there, kids! Let's talk about the metric system. We don't use it in the United States, but they do use it in Germany, in Europe, and Africa, and Asia. Everywhere else in the world, they use the metric system, but not the United States. Yeah, they use it in Germany, but we don't, and we also don't dress like this. Hey, listen, the metric system is really nice because it's always based on the number 10. And you kids know how you like the number 10. It's so easy to use. So let's look at some of these metric units of length. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters, okay? And millimeters are really tiny. All right, I'll show you in a second. And then 1 decimeter equals 10 centimeters. So if you had 1 centimeter, you have 10 millimeters. If you have 10 centimeters, which is 100 millimeters, that's a decimeter. 1 meter equals 10 decimeters. It also equals 100 centimeters. And here's the big one. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. You know what they should have put in here? You ever heard of a kilometer? Yeah, they should have put that in here because 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. Okay, you should know that. Now, they also have metric units of system for liquid, and they have something called a liter, and that's 1,000 milliliters. A milliliter is really small. I'll show you in a second. And then we have the metric units of mass, and mass is what we use to weigh things. In the United States, we use pounds. Like you probably know how many pounds you weigh. Okay, but in Germany, they all use kilograms, and that's 1,000 grams. So let's look at that for a second here. Here are some benchmark units that you can use when you're thinking about the metric system. Okay, I told you that a millimeter is really, really small. It's about the thickness of one dime. Okay, not the width of it, the thickness of it. You know how skinny a dime is, right? Okay, and then you have a centimeter, and that's about the width of your finger. You have a decimeter, that's about the width of your hand. You have a meter, and that's about the width of a door. Then you have a kilometer or a kilometer, and that's 1,000 meters, and it would take you about 10 minutes to walk that long. Okay, those are all units of length in the metric system. Now, I told you before about liters, okay? If you had 1,000 milliliters, that would equal a liter. And a milliliter is about the amount of liquid that's in an eyedropper. And then you have metric units of mass. About 1 gram would be about the weight of a dollar bill, I guess. And a kilogram would be about the weight of a baseball bat. A kilogram is a little bit more than 2 pounds, okay? So anyway, you're learning how to use the metric system here. We're just going to focus on one of these this week, and we're going to focus on measurement of length. And we're going to look at millimeters, okay, and centimeters, okay. And there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter, okay. So that's what we're going to focus on this week. You could get into all these other ones also, but it would be hard to test you on it. So let's look at this. Right here, we have a ruler, and you can tell that this is the metric system because usually they put a little cm right here. Okay, that stands for centimeters. Now, a lot of kids get confused and they think that each one of these little lines right here is a centimeter. But remember that I told you before that 10 millimeters makes up 1 centimeter. So in this ruler right here, we have 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and each centimeter is made up of 10 millimeters. Now, a lot of kids get confused with this too because they count right here. They say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's only 9 of them, they say to me. But no, we're counting the spaces. The first line right here is 0, and then we have 1 millimeter, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's half of it. That's a half a centimeter. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 millimeters. Each one of these little lines is millimeters. So we got 10 millimeters makes up 1 centimeter. Okay. Now, if we were measuring this red bar right here, we could either measure it in millimeters or centimeters or both. Okay. So this one right here, we start at 0. We know that to get to 1 centimeter is 10. That's 10 right there. If we go another 10, we get to 20. Okay, that's 20 millimeters, or the same thing as 2 centimeters. And then how many more millimeters? 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's kind of like halfway between 3 and 4. I'm going to call it 3. All right, so what do we got here? Well, we've got, you could say it a couple different ways. You could say it as 2 centimeters, plus we had 1, 2, 3 millimeters and 3 millimeters. You could say it like that. Or a lot of people in Germany, they write it as 2.3 centimeters because that's 2 holes and 3/10 of another one, right? So 2 and 3/10 centimeters. You could say it like that. Kids, you're learning how to measure using the metric system. Let's try it again. All right, how big is that blue bar right there? Okay, we know we're using the metric system because it says centimeters right here. How big is that? Right, this is 1, 2, 3, yeah, this is 3 millimeters, okay? And you could also write it as centimeters if you wanted to. It's not even 1 centimeter, is it? And we could write it as 3/10 of a centimeter. And you could write that as a decimal like 0 and 3/10 centimeters. Okay, so that's 3 millimeters, 3/10 of a centimeter, or you could write it as a decimal, 3/10 of a centimeter. Let's do it again. How about this one? Okay, we know we're using the metric system because we can see it right there, centimeters. Okay, well, we know it's bigger than 1 centimeter, right? That's bigger than 10 millimeters. That's 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. Another 10 millimeters equals 2 centimeters. Another 10 millimeters equals 3 centimeters. Did we make it to 4? No. So we know we've got 3 centimeters, okay? And then how many millimeters? Well, let's start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this longer one right here is 5, so that's 5. 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it's 3 centimeters and 8 millimeters. Okay, now we can rewrite that again. We can write it as 3 centimeters and 8/10 of another one. So that's 3 and 8/10 centimeters. And we can also write it as a decimal, 3 and 8/10 centimeters. Okay. So there you go. That's millimeters and centimeters. Let's take a look at what's on the Friday quiz. Well, I can't show you this one because I can't get the ruler on the screen right here. But on the paper, you're going to have a ruler this week. You're going to measure these lines right here. You're going to tell me how many centimeters it is and how many millimeters it is. And you want to try to be as accurate as you can. If you want, you could also write it just in centimeters by using a decimal point or a fraction and not put any millimeters. It's up to you. Both would be correct. Kids, right now you're learning how to convert metric units. All right, well, there you go. I hope that helps. If you need help, come see us. We will help you. Go ahead and give it a try. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.